Yeah. Yeah. That's better. But yeah, he's right about that. And another thing, like you might not have later. Like you might not have later. You never know. Jesus could call it an end on earth, or you could die. You could be mess up so bad you're in jail your whole life. Like you might not have later. But anyways, I tried to decide how to talk to teens about this, and I've just decided I'm gonna do it the same way I talk to the adults because I was y'all's age whenever I started falling. So you might hear some stuff that you might see, you might not see, you might be tempted by, you might not be tempted by. I don't know. But anyways, like I'm gonna sit down. Like I grew up here in the church, went to all the church stuff, participated in quizzing camps. I mean everything. I did it all, but I was doing it for me. I did not care about actually learning about Jesus. I didn't care about actually like getting to know Him, and that right there is when you're gonna really start falling. And so I was raised right. My parents raised me right with manners and everything, and raised me in the church. But I was in high school, and you start getting introduced to other stuff. You start seeing like cigarettes, alcohol, weed, stuff like that, and I fell into all that. I really fell into like weed. Alcohol, it was kind of hard to get, so we didn't do that all the time. Then you just start wanting something else. You want more. You take on something, you like it, you say, that made me feel good. I want something else. So my other thing that I ended up doing was I would find people that I could kind of read with them. Like, okay, I bet they probably know some stuff, and started finding pills, like pain medicine, just Adderall, like any kind of pills, and start testing them out. And another thing, like I hear it all the time, I've even been told, oh, he just fell into the wrong crowd, or he just was hanging out with the wrong people. It's on you. Like you can't blame it on anybody else. Like I can't sit here and force you to do something. It's on you. So I don't like it when people say that, oh, Hunter just fell into the wrong crowd. Like, no, I chose the people I hung out with. I chose the people that I wanted to be around. But anyway, so through high school, I was still going to church and all, but I was mainly just having fun. Like I said, I didn't care about actually learning about Jesus. I was doing my thing on the weekends and picking up stuff here and there. And it was I guess it was after I graduated high school that I kind of I had that freedom, and I wanted to start. I had that freedom, and I was smoking weed, cigarettes. I was drinking a little bit. I was still taking pills sometimes here and there, and I come to find out that I liked a pill called a Xanax, and I got really, really strung out on them. I got very much addicted to them, and it was like one of the things that you had to have, and I switched jobs, and I was spending basically all my money on drugs and alcohol and gas. But whenever I switched jobs, it was a job that I had. It was an afternoon job instead of like a morning job and all. So I'd wake up in the morning and I'd, do my thing, start like whether it was start with smoking, start with drinking, swallowing a pill, something. I was going to start my day off with something. So I'd go to work messed up every day. I'd work, make my money so I can go buy what I wanted. And it still was like I want more, I want more, I want more. So I started just kind of experimenting other stuff, whether it was more different kinds of pills or whatever. And I came to really like cocaine. So now at this point, I became an alcoholic. At this point, it was whenever I was probably about 21 or so. So I was old enough to buy alcohol. So I became an alcoholic. I was drinking every single day. I was taking pills every single day. I was smoking every single day. I was doing cocaine a lot, but I wasn't doing it every day. It was really expensive. But but so I had all that, on my plate that I was I was always messed up. I was never sober. Family members didn't want to be around me. I had people that told me now that, yeah, my mama, I wasn't really allowed to hang out with you. And I don't blame them at all, because, I wouldn't want my kid around somebody like that. And so basically I was just hanging out with my friends that wanted to do the same thing I wanted to do, and that was just get as messed up as possible and think there ain't no consequences to it. And then one night so I went over to a friend's house, and it was just me and him, and it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and we've been drinking, or I've been drinking. He don't drink, but I've been drinking and doing all this other stuff, and I decided, I don't go home now. I was like, no, dude, just spend the night with me. I was like, no, I don't go home. He said, well, let me drive you home. I said, no, I'm got my keys. I'm about to go get my car. I'm going home. He was like, okay, well, I'm going to follow you. He said, I want to drive you home, but I can't make somebody not do it. So he was like, I'm going to follow you. I don't remember that. That's just what I remember I was told. And next thing I remember, I'm being snatched out of my Jeep and put in his car. And the next thing I remember, I actually went and woke AJ up and told him before I even told my mama. And turns out my Jeep was on a back road somewhere. And this is the first time that, I never seen it. Before I even get deeper into it, I've never seen God's mercy, God's power, what He was looking out for me. Never seen it until here recently, 4 years ago. So my Jeep was flipped all kinds of totaled on the road, on a back road, and I remember looking at my Jeep, and this right here it just tells you how God works. Like, you can ask AJ. I don't have a picture of it. I don't know if he does or not, but okay. So if anybody was in my back seat, 100% dead. If anybody was in my passenger seat, 100% dead. The trunk of my Jeep was pushed all the way up to the front seat, and the back roof was crushed in. Like, you couldn't really even see the back seat. The passenger seat, the roof was basically crushed all the way in. Where I was sitting, not a dent. Not a dent, just a shattered mirror, and I walked away with a busted nose. And that's it. And you would think, something like that happens to somebody, they might open their eyes, but I didn't. Next day I went back, same thing. I went back and we actually threw all my stuff out my Jeep and hid it on the road somewhere. So the next day I actually went, not back there, but went back and bought me more stuff and started back my same old trend that I was doing all the time. And like I said, I wanted more and more and more. So I was still hanging out with some friends, but I kind of got to a point where I wanted to be by myself. I wanted to spend time by myself and not be around anybody. But so basically, I was so low at that point that I wanted to do all my stuff. I wanted to do all my drugs, drink as much as I could, and all by myself. And to do stuff like that by yourself is sorry. Like, it's just, it means that you're in a bad spot. But I mean, you're in a bad spot if you're doing it. But if you're doing it by yourself, then that is just, I mean, it's bad. So I wasn't not hanging out with a whole lot of people, but I was still doing all this, and I was like, I want more, but I done tried everything. I held on to the stuff I like the most, and I've done tried everything else, and I've, take a part occasionally and stuff like that. But then I found out, well, I can start experimenting with some of this stuff I had. So, and the only thing I didn't try was putting a needle in my arm, just because I didn't know how to do that anyways, and I wasn't going to try it. But so I would take cocaine and I would smoke it. That's smoking crack. I was literally a crackhead, and I was doing all this by myself, and I didn't tell anybody what I was doing. If friends would come here and there, and we just do the normal stuff, and they'd leave, and I'd go right back to my thing. And so at this point, I'm taking pills, mainly Xanax. I mean, we were buying. I mean, there was times that my friends that would do it with me, we were putting our money together, and we were going in and buying 50 pills at a time. And I mean, they'll be gone in 3 days. Like, I mean, it was bad. So I was doing that. Not only putting cocaine up my nose, I was smoking it. I was still drinking every single day, like drunk every day. I was smoking about a pack of cigarettes a day. I mean, it was bad. I was strung out on all kinds of stuff. I think just about everybody knew I was, but I know for a fact I had a lot of prayers that were going out to me around, like, because I mean, my family knew that, okay, I don't know what he's doing, but he ain't right. Because if you ever, from age, I'd say about 19, 20 to about 24, if you saw me and I was sober, then that was a super rare occasion. And so, I mean, I was living with whoever let me in their house, and my granny. I was staying with my granny a lot because I worked a mile down the road, and half the time, say I got paid on Thursday, and by Monday I was out of money, so I'd have to basically stay with her so I can save gas to get to work, because I done spent all my money on, But around, may have been about 22, I think. Around that time, my stepmama had died. My daddy was living in Savannah. I was like, you know what? I'm old enough. I need a better job. I need to kind of lay off on some of this stuff. Daddy needs somebody living with him. I'm going to move to Savannah, and I'm going to, try to lay off the drugs. And I can still drink, but I'll lay off the drugs, and I can get a better job, and maybe, in the long run, I'll be better. Now, when I did that, I wasn't looking for Jesus, and that was where I messed up yet again, because throughout my entire life, I was never looking for him, even though he was right in front of me. But I get down to Savannah and doing good for a little while, just drinking, and I got a pretty good job, and then I mean, it wasn't 2 months after I moved to Savannah, I realized there's a lot of stuff in Savannah, and you can get your hands on anything, and it was easy to come across. So went back to my same old habits, because I found out how to get everything I wanted. But then I found out, so like there's a hallucin acid, I don't know how to say, makes you hallucinate. So I found that out, and I found, like, I could get that down in Savannah too. So I was like, okay, that's cool. I can add that on my list. So I'm doing all this behind my daddy's back. Then I find out my daddy's so he found his wife dead in bed, so he had trouble sleeping at night, of course, and he got prescribed some sleep medicine and all, and I found that, and I started taking that a lot, because he wasn't taking it regularly, so I was taking it. And So, I mean, I went back to my same old habits, basically. And I didn't have any friends in Savannah, so I was literally doing all this like 100% by myself, but the same exact thing pretty much. Throat gets dry. um, okay, so then one night in Savannah, I went to a bar. On the way home, it was a road that you merge onto, two-lane road merge onto. Well, I sideswiped the car and ran, hit and run. And I, of course, I got my tag and all this. I had to pay a bunch of fines for that. And let's see, and then it wasn't too long after that. So my daddy was gone for a couple of days. So it was me and my stepbrother at the house. And he'd have some friends over every now and then and all. And we had a little party type thing. And later on, I took too many pills. Took too many. And I ain't going to say, I don't know if you consider it an overdose, but I was out, out for almost 24 hours, out. And he sat there, I ain't going to say he sat there right beside me, but he kept an eye on me and made sure I was breathing, before he had to call, before he had to call 911 or anything. But, so I basically overdosed. I believe if I would have took one more, I would have probably been dead. And still did not open my eyes one bit. Said, okay, well, got away with it again, I guess. Guess I'm good to go. So started doing the same thing. And I'd wake up in the morning. Most people get coffee or energy drink. I'd grab me a Coca-Cola out of the fridge, take a couple sips, pour Jack in it, and walk out the door with a Coke and a Jack. And throughout my day at work, I just keep on. I drink some, pour some, drink some, pour some, and I wouldn't drink anything else throughout the day, but alcohol, and then on top of all kinds of drugs and all. And so there was one night, went to the bar again. I was coming home, and I wasn't but about a mile down the road from the house, and I ran off the road, and I hit a tree, and I was like, oh man, Daddy's not home either to come drag my truck to the house. So I called him, and he was like, well, if it's just in the lady's tree, it ain't no big deal. Just go to the house, and we'll get it in the morning. All right. Went to the house, and the next morning, I remember we went down there, and there was already a police sitting there going through my truck, and which I took everything with me that was illegal. But so I've never had to pay the consequence for anything I did. I never had to go to jail or had to pay fines, but I never had to go to jail or anything. And quite honestly, that's a cheap way out. But I think that was, I think it was God. Honestly, just kind of watching out for me. But whenever we got there, there was a cop there going through it. Well, I was about the road. Say the road was that wall. My truck was in a tree way over here by this wall, and there was a chain link fence about halfway, so I didn't realize it at the time. I ran so far off the road, I took out her chain link fence in her backyard and ran into a big oak tree, and my truck was indented in the oak tree. There was no pulling it out. It was completely total. Tow truck was able to pull it out eventually, but we had to untangle some fence around it. It was bad. So I got hit with a ton of fines, had to go rebuild the lady's fence, and it was around that time it finally just kind of hit me man, I'm in more trouble in Savannah than I was in Dublin. I'm rock bottom. There's no more going down from where I'm at. It's just not possible, I don't think. I was like, the only thing I know to do is just move back home, live with my granny, and just erase everything out my phone. So I didn't even put in a 2 weeks notice at my job. I didn't get a job here before I moved back. I just packed up, told Daddy. He was like, yeah, that's what you need to do. So, okay. So, came back to Dublin, and I deleted all my drug contacts, all my drug friends out of my phone. I moved in with my granny, and all I did, I'd go from Granny's to AJ and Easton's, and that was where I went, and that way I couldn't put myself in a situation to be around it. But so I was taking something out, but I still had a hole there, and I wasn't feeling it, and I didn't know what to fill it with really. And then around that time, that's when me and Anna started dating, and I think dating her, kind of seeing it through between Pastor Austin, between seeing it through him, seeing it through her, seeing how my granny treated me still even after all this. I think all that just kind of opened my eyes a little bit, like, okay, maybe what I need to do is fill that hole with Jesus, and maybe that will help me. And I was still drinking, but I was slowly filling that hole, trying to figure it out, and then it finally just hit me one day, like looking at the face on my daddy whenever all this happened with my truck. It was nothing but disappointment. I mean, all my family. I mean, my granny. I couldn't imagine, like, if she would actually know what happened and what I was doing, how she would look at me, like, And then, so whenever I was little, my Nana was like my childhood hero, like, not Superman, not Batman. It was my Nana, and I mean, she passed away when I was young, and I'm like, okay, she's looking down at me right now, probably crying her eyeballs out because I ain't gonna be in heaven with her. So all this just kind of hit me all at one time, and I was like, okay, I could only imagine what the face of my heavenly Father is looking at me. So I got saved. I got Jesus into my life, and I was clueless. I did not know, because I mean, like I said, I came to church, but I didn't listen. I didn't pay attention. I didn't care to learn. I was just coming. So I mean, I was walking in blind, like I was clueless about what to expect with Jesus, I guess, or anything like that, what I'm going to learn, So it took me from 24 until, I'd say, about a year ago to finally really get it, because I mean, I was trying to get it. I was trying to understand it a little bit, but at the same time, I honestly wasn't, because I wasn't in my Bible like I should have been, because, I mean, that's the book of facts right there. You read it, you're going to learn something. And I wasn't in it like I should have been, but I was like, okay, but I ain't doing nothing wrong, so, I mean, I'm good, right? And, I mean, that's not the case. You could be living a perfect little, I go to church, I don't do nothing wrong, I don't do nothing wrong, but if you ain't got Jesus, that really don't matter that much. So, and I think what it boiled down to was my job. Like, all the jobs I had were factory jobs, and I ain't blaming it on that, but this was a part of what kind of messed me up whenever I had got saved, because I was around so much negativity that it made me negative. It made me go home to my wife and kids and not be the husband and daddy that I should be to them, because it just brought me down. And I got a job offer with where I work now, pest control, and I took a pay cut, and I took it because it got me out of that 60-hour a week, just around nothing but, I hate to say bad people, but bad people. And it put me with a boss that's a Christ follower. It put me with people who like their job. It put me by myself a lot. I get to drive around by myself, so I get to listen to whatever I want. And so me doing that, it changed my attitude like completely, and it like I'm a better husband, I'm a better father, I'm a better son of God. Like I'm just all around better whenever I got that, because it just, like, I don't know, it just kind of showed me who I can be by myself. Like, because like I said, I'm by myself a lot, and it showed me who I can be by myself. And I started, I never, I could sit there and read the Bible a couple years ago, and I'd be like, I don't know what really that means, but at least I'm reading my Bible. Now I can read the Bible and I get it, because I filled that hole now. I got Jesus, and I filled it. So now I get it. For the most part, I get it. If I don't get it, I'm going to ask questions to, whether it's my brother, another pastor, whoever. If I don't get it, I'm going to ask questions, because I want to learn it. Like, that's the thing. I want to learn as much as I can. Like, when I come, you hear Pastor Don say it all the time, come expecting. When I come to church, I come because I want to learn, I want to get something out of it. So that's why I come, because I want to get deeper and deeper with God. The more, in my past, I wanted more and more and more, but of bad things, negative things. Now I want more and more and more of Him. And I don't believe that He showed me all that mercy. He showed me He was there with me through everything. And I don't believe that He let me get away. I say get away. Let me survive, make it out. I don't believe He did that without a reason, without a purpose. And that's what I want to be for Him. He didn't, go. He went and picked me up and guided me back to the road I needed to be on. So for Him to do that says to me, I need to be that light for Him. I need to, carry out His plan for me, however that is. And I know that the road I'm on right now, what I'm doing now, is the plan He had for me. He wants me to take my past and use it to not only help others, but for others to see how powerful He is, how merciful He is, how great He is, what all He can do for you. And I fully believe that that's what He wants me to do, and not just that. Like, I know that He wants me to be His child and be His light. So, like, my job is to serve others, but my job is to kill bugs, but that's serving others. But there's more I can do than just, go out and kill their bugs. I get to go spend time with these customers. I get to know them. I get to carry on conversations with them. I get to see if they're having problems, if they might have a loved one that just died. They might be sick. They might be dealing with all kinds of stuff. I can sit down with them and I can say a prayer with them. And that right there makes someone's day. Whenever you do something like that with somebody that's not expecting you to, I'm there to kill bugs. But when I do that, it makes their day. And when I leave, I don't care if they call my boss and tell him whatever, but I don't want them to call my boss and say, oh, Hunter did a good job killing the bugs. I want them to call my boss and say, hey, you got a child of God on your team. Well, that's what I want my customers to think of me. I want them to see Jesus through me whenever I leave their house. I want them to say, that's a man right there. That's a good man right there, And that's what my goal is. And I feel like I'm carrying it out pretty good. I'm thinking, being strong for Him, because of all He did for me. I ain't about to fall back down that road for anything. I'm not. So I think that all that He did for me is wonderful. And I tell y'all this just so y'all can y'all can hear the story, because y'all were teenagers. That's whenever I started seeing different stuff, whether it was a cigarette or whether it was an extreme drug. That's just, it's honestly, it's life. I mean, you're going to see stuff, you're going to be tempted by stuff, and I want y'all to hear how low I was and how miserable, I mean, I was probably borderline depressed, like, I don't know, but I wanted y'all to hear that, and at the same time, like, if y'all ever, I know y'all got a pastor right there that's wonderful to talk to, but if y'all are ever dealing with something, some kind of, it don't even have to be addiction, but if y'all are dealing with something and y'all need somebody to talk to, don't talk to me. If y'all know somebody that is, I'm always willing to talk and try to help somebody. I don't know if I'll actually help or not, but I'm willing to talk to anybody and try to help anybody. And I think that's really about it. I mean, like I said, I wanted y'all just to hear that and know that God is almighty. I think he got a song.